Okay, so to start off my vlog, I will tell you about my experience with mental health and my journey towards being finally diagnosed as an adult versus early detection as a child. I grew up in a regular home. My parents did not understand what was wrong with me. They knew something was going on, but they couldn't quite put their fingers on it. Didn't know how to handle me. So they resorted to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse. When I was about 18, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is high-functioning autism. And then at 19, I had my first mental breakdown. I lost my job, and it was a job that I liked very, very much. And I just ended up crying my eyes out. I mean, I was just so upset, and it led to a deep, deep depression. Lots of drugs, lots of drinking, not making the right choices as far as friends were concerned. And I eventually lost my apartment and was sent to a rehab for the drugs and alcohol. It was a rehab that's not very well known, but it's known by Christians as Teen Challenge of the Midlands. And a lot of people are sent there, Christian or not. But you usually become Christian once you're there. But anyways, so I was sent to rehab. I was kicked out of rehab and ended up on the streets. And one day I decided to try and commit suicide. So I was on a bridge. I was ready to commit suicide. I was ready to jump off. And a pastor friend of mine, I had made friends with a pastor that was local to the town. And he picked me up, put me in his truck, and said, "I'm taking you to the emergency room." He took me to the emergency room, and the staff there were very, very nice. This was my very first mental health admission, so I didn't know what to expect, anything. They transferred me to their mental health facility a couple miles away. I was taken in handcuffs by their staff and was not diagnosed then. They just told me I was faking it and I needed to get out. So here I am, I'm going to be homeless again, and my dad shows up, brings me back to town, and puts me in a homeless shelter. This only exacerbated my problems, and I ended up going to a local mental health hospital here in Omaha, Nebraska called Lasting Hope Recovery Center. And there I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and borderline personality disorder. Now, I felt so safe there that I just kept going back and back and back and back and back. And finally they got tired of me going and put me somewhere where I could be monitored 24/7 and possibly feel safe. So they put me in a group home. I was put in the group home. I was there for about a month. Ended up in jail. And because I ended up in jail, they threw me out of the group home. And that was not fun, being in jail. The worst experience of my life. Well, one of the worst experiences of my life. And then ended up on the streets again. And ended up in another hospital, Douglas County Mental Health Hospital, where I became very violent and struck a patient. They then put me on a BOH, Board of Mental Health, hold. And the Board of Mental Health met. It was just like a trial almost. You could have a lawyer and all this and that. And they sentenced me to be placed in a long-term facility called the Lincoln Regional Center, which is now, it still exists, but it's been repurposed to people who have committed crimes, who are supposed to be in jail or prison, but are too sick mentally. So anyways, I went there. I was there for a year. And it was hell on earth. Every day was a new experience. I was put on 12 dozen medications, not all at once, but over the course of the year, 12 dozen medications or so, just to try and find the right combination, and they couldn't find it. But they thought they got me stable enough that I could go home, or rather to another lockdown facility, but it was a little bit more easier and a lot more privileges. So I went there, was there 2 years, and then finally went back into the group home system. Was in the group home system for about 3 years after that, and then finally got where you see me now. Apartment of my own. I have a board-certified psychologist that sees me for both mental health and therapy. She requested me as a patient. I did not ask her. She requested me, and she's a godsend. I love her. And she's doing dialectical behavioral therapy with me, and I'm getting much, much better. So that is my journey with mental health up until now. I hope that maybe you've learned something about mental health from my experience, or something like that. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I will read the comments, I will respond, and have a good day. Thanks.